is all around. Everything is calm on Christmas Eve. There's goodwill in the air tonight. Angels sing by candlelight, their voices carried on the wind. When carol singers gather round, when I hear that festive sound, I wanna join with them and sing. They sing a merry song, and we all sing along. A festive melody that tells us Christmas time is here. See the stars tonight, they're shining bright, 'cause it's Christmas time, and it's my favorite time of year. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, give me mistletoe. Oh, it's a season to be jolly, wrapping presents, writing cards, helping decorate the tree. But there's one thing that makes it all for me. When carol singers gather round, angel voices fill the town. It's like the world is joining in. They sing a merry song, and we all sing along. A festive melody that tells us Christmas time is here. See the stars tonight, they're shining bright, 'cause it's Christmas time, and it's my favorite time of year. Christmas Eve, still believe, so excited, can't sleep. When the morning comes, church bells ring, and he's They sing a merry song, and we all sing along. A festive melody that tells us Christmas time is here. See the stars tonight, they're shining bright, 'cause it's Christmas time, and it's my favorite time of year. And it's my favorite time of year.
Standing outside the door of love and mercy, you wonder if there's a place there for you. You know there's peace inside, but still you're searching for someone who understands the pain you've been through. Spirit waits with open arms, calling out your name. Come on in, welcome home, you are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in, come on in. There is room enough in the whole of love for someone just like you. Come on in, welcome home, you are loved, you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, come on in, come on in.
Good morning. But a wondrous, glorious, loving day it is. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to those who could not be with us today, who are watching our service now or perhaps later on YouTube. For those here for the first time, we invite you to visit our table at the back of the sanctuary, where you can fill out a blue form that will help keep us informed of ongoing events to you, and return it to our bookstore for a gift. This is the time for our special announcements, but just before, we'd like to give our heartfelt thanks to both Dawn and her very able and enthusiastic assistant, Larry, for helping to decorate this beautiful church. It helps to raise our spirits. So please welcome Dawn for an announcement.
Thank you, Mary. Unity of London's community outreach project for the fall and winter, as you know, involves supporting Art for Animals, the community group. The community outreach team is calling all bakers, that's why the funny hat, to donate goodies for the Unity bake sale booth on December 15th. All proceeds are going to go to Art for Animals. There's a sign-up sheet in the fellowship hall for bakers to sign up. Help is also needed for manning the booth and for cleanup and for setup. Don't forget to bring the kids for pictures with Santa, and there'll be great shopping opportunities. Anybody who has questions can see me later. Thank you.
We now welcome Sylvia for further announcements.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, so membership notice. If you haven't handed in your membership form, go looking, digging, find it. It's at the bottom of the pile probably. Hand it in if you can't find it or you don't remember where it is. Ask at the end of the service for another one. We want everybody to get their membership form in, assuming you all still want to be members. And if not, like, why? Was it something I said? Okay, so hand in your membership form. Give yourself a Christmas gift or give someone else a Christmas gift. Sign up for the retreat. It's going to be awesome in January. Registrations forms are available in the fellowship hall, and we're looking for a $50 deposit. If you don't have that today, put your name on the list so that we can be sure that there's space for you, and we want to fill it up as full as we can get it. And I think my last announcement is, before we go there, we have some strange items, and we have some not so strange items. Like, I know what a deviled egg dish looks like. If it's yours, take it home, bring it back with some more deviled eggs, but then take it home again. So there's some things in the fellowship hall, and then we found this strange thing in the back of one of the pockets. We're not sure what it is, but if it's yours, it'll be in the fellowship hall. Thanks.
Thank you, Sylvia. We have a vision. Okay. And our vision, let's read this together. A world powerfully transformed through the growing movement, shared spiritual awakening. And our mission statement, we are a loving, inclusive community, co-creating with spirit to transform lives. Today you'll see before us, in front of the sanctuary, the Advent wreath. The lighting of an Advent wreath is a custom that began way back in the 16th century in Germany, among the Lutherans and Catholics. But here in Western Christianity, Advent begins on the fourth Sunday before Christmas Day, or the Sunday which falls closest to November the 30th, and lasts through Christmas Eve. The Advent wreath is a circular garland of evergreen branches representing eternity. On that wreath, 4 candles are arranged. And during the season of Advent, 1 candle on the wreath is lit each Sunday as a part of the Advent services. Each candle represents an aspect of spiritual preparation for the coming of the Christ being consciously reborn within each of us. Today we light the candle which represents faith. And I'd like to call forward Sylvia again to light one of our candles representing the power of faith. Great, thank you. Thank you.
See, faith grows and grows.
This month we'll be singing traditional Christmas carols. While they are not of the unity message per se, they do open our hearts because we've sung them for so many times, and many of them hold special meanings to us. So let's stand now and sing, "O Come All Ye Faithful."
Oh, come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Sing, choirs of angels, sing in exaltation. Sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God in the highest. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Yea, Lord, we greet thee, born this happy morning. Jesus, to thee be glory. Word of the Father, now in flesh appearing. Oh, come, let us adore. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
Good morning. Unity's foundation is affirmative prayer. If you wish prayer for someone else or for yourself, you're invited to use our prayer box. Just put a name on a piece of paper and place it in the box at the front. There's no need to explain the situation, as God is all-knowing. It will be prayed over here at Unity by our prayer angels for 30 days, and then it will be sent on to Silent Unity for additional prayer. And remember, 24 hours a day you can call 1-800-NOW-PRAY to reach Silent Unity, where people have been praying with and for people for over 130 years. If you wish private one-on-one prayer, we have a prayer chaplain available to pray with you following today's service. You can meet our prayer chaplain in the prayer room, which is through the fellowship hall and up the orange stairs. Today our prayer chaplain is Sylvia, and Sylvia, would you please come forward and lead us in prayer?
So I invite you to become still. Close your eyes if you're comfortable with that, and settle your awareness into your heart space. That center of our being where the essence of all that is abides and flows. Imagine your light of love growing and emanating and expanding outside of you. And we include in this prayer all spiritual gatherings that are happening today, all the unity centers, knowing that there are many paths to the one God. And I invite you to whisper the name of anyone else that is important to you that you'd like to hold in prayer at this time. You whisper their names into the space. And we know for some, December brings sorrow, sadness, despair, depression. But yet each of those people are the same as us. At their essence is the light of love. As we allow our light and love to expand from us and this center, we imagine it flowing to those beings whose hearts may be broken, for there is always a crack open to allow your love to flow in there. And as we fan our hearts in that light and love, we know that the movement will also fan their light and love. And we take a moment to imagine that through this time, this month of December, that we see our friends and our family and our strangers all meeting and greeting each other with love and inclusiveness. For that's why we're here, is to transform our lives and other lives. And may there be peace on earth through each one of us. And so it is.
And now for a message from the Daily Word brought to you by Silent Unity. As mentioned, it is the first Sunday of Advent, so today's message is on faith. Through faith, I am centered and guided every step of every day. My faith is more than a passive state of being. It is an active energy that empowers my thoughts and brings them into manifestation in this human experience. I am always expressing faith in something, either spiritual truth or dualistic illusion. I am grateful for the growing awareness that allows me to recognize where I place my faith and to make conscious, creative choices throughout every day. If I find myself giving my faith to thoughts of lack or limitation, I shift my focus to the spiritual substance that can accomplish all things through me. It is by embracing this understanding of faith that I create a new consciousness, choice by choice. From James 1, verse 6, but ask in faith, never doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Excelsis Deo, Gloria, in excelsis Deo. Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why your joyous strains prolong? What the gladsome tidings be, which inspire your heavenly song? Gloria, in excelsis Deo, Gloria, in excelsis Deo. Come to Bethlehem to see him whose birth the angels sing. Come adore on bended knee Christ the Lord, the newborn King. Gloria, in excelsis Deo. love we raise. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
Thank you. Our speaker today is Tony Orvidas. He's been a supporter of Unity of London for well over 15 years and an active member for 6. He's married to Bonnie, our former outreach coordinator. Tony regularly provides sacred service here at Unity as vice president of the board of directors and is one of our Sunday offering counters and platform assistants. He's a longtime student of metaphysics, abundance manifestation, and law of abundance, founder of the lighthearted, semi-spiritual, non-denominational website and online journal, Abundance Together. He has shared his special messages with us on a number of occasions, and we are so pleased to have him here once again to do so. No doubt his lesson today will be interesting, humorous, and definitely thought-provoking. Please give a warm welcome to Tony.
Thank you, Mary. Morning, Unity of London. Good morning. Beautiful tree, right? I put ours up yesterday, and I set a record. Only one obscenity during the whole process. Voila. Let's start off with a story. A nun worked for a local home health care agency and was out making her rounds. Sad to say, she ran out of gas in her car. And as luck would have it, there was a gas station just around the corner from where she was. So she walked to the station to borrow a can with enough gas to start the car so she could then drive it back to the station for a complete fill-up. The gas attendant was a trusting sort and told her that, regretfully, the only can that he owned for gas had just been loaned out. But if she would care to wait, he was sure that it would be back very shortly. Since the nun was on the way to see a patient and did not want to waste time, she decided not to wait and walked back to her car. After searching through her vehicle for something to carry to the station to fill with gas, she spotted a bedpan that she was taking to the patient. Always resourceful, she carried it to the station, filled it with gasoline, carried it back to her car. As she was pouring the gas into the tank of her car, 2 young gentlemen walked by. One of them turned to the other and said, "Now that's what I call faith." Today is the first Sunday of Advent, has been mentioned, leading up to Christmas, and thus the tie. And the theme for this, the first of the 4 weeks of Advent, is faith. Now, faith is also the first of our 12 spiritual abilities. Charles Fillmore called them the 12 powers. These spiritual abilities, or faculties, were perfectly expressed by Jesus of Nazareth and are present in every single person. That includes you and me and your nasty neighbor next door. Unity tells us that faith is the ability to believe, to intuit, and to perceive. Of the 12 powers or faculties, the one Jesus spoke of most frequently according to the New Testament, was faith. Have faith. Believe. Trust. Winifred Wilkinson Hausman, a popular Unity minister, said this about faith. Faith is that quality in us which enables us to look past appearances of lack, limitation, or difficulty, to hold the divine idea and to believe it, even though we don't see any evidence of it except in our minds. Through faith we know with an inner knowing the truth that has not yet expressed itself in our manifest world. And that's the world we create for ourselves. Now, according to another metaphysician, Archie Bunker of All in the Family, faith is something that you believe that nobody in his right mind would believe. I didn't know I was going to do that. I thought it was a still. That's neat. Reverend Galen McDowell, in his article, Faith Over Fear, says this. Faith is our ability to see the possibilities of life. Faith sees ideas where fear sees disbelief. Faith sees opportunities where fear sees obstacles. Faith sees potential where fear sees problems. Faith sees abundance where fear sees lack and limitation. Faith allows us to work with God's omnipresent substance and shape it into a manifestation of good that we can understand and use in our lives. End of quote. So that's what I'm talking to you about today. Faith, and how through faith to turn your wounds into wisdom. I'll discuss faith in God as well as belief in the goodness of the universe. I'll tell you a little bit about my own crisis of faith, the loss of faith of a local celebrity, and the importance of believing that whatever happens to you is for good. To me and many others, the opposite of faith is doubt. Now, you likely have heard about doubting Thomas. Now, a doubting Thomas is a skeptic who refuses to believe without a direct personal experience. It's a reference to the Apostle Thomas, one of the group of 12 disciples who refused to believe that the resurrected Jesus had appeared to the other apostles until he himself could see and feel the wounds that Jesus received on the cross. As we read in the Gospel of John, but he said unto them, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. 8 days after this declaration of disbelief, Jesus showed up at a gathering of the apostles and included Thomas. Jesus addressed him and offered Thomas the opportunity of putting his finger into his wounds. Recognizing him, Thomas answered and said unto him, My Lord and my God. And then Jesus said unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen, yet have believed. Well, in many ways I have been and still am a bit of a doubting Thomas. Any of you like that? Well, the late Dr. Wayne Dyer said this about disbelief. It was the title of one of his books, actually. You'll see it when you believe it. Reverend Robert Brumet tells us that faith is the power to create our reality by our perceptions, our beliefs, and our interpretations. Seeing is believing, and yet believing is seeing. According to our faith, our world reveals itself to us and becomes real. And that's manifestation. In today's reading of the Daily Word, we heard from the Gospel of James where Jesus said, But ask in faith, never doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. So it seems to me that it takes a fair bit of work to have faith, to believe, to let go of doubt and fear, in which case I'm obviously a work still in progress. Are you? Reverend Bob Ribley was a Christian minister for more than 3 decades, including 15 years spent as senior minister at Metropolitan United Church, a major Canadian congregation here in London. He wrote a syndicated column for QMI Agency, and that included the London Free Press, the Freeps, where he discussed religion for some 25 years. Did any of you ever read that column? I did, regularly. He was also a well-known broadcaster with his own radio show and a local cable television program. He helped launch the Christian Churches Network of London and was an author of Christian devotional material. In one of his last poems, he raised a lot of eyebrows because Ripley talked about how he no longer believed in God. He also wrote a book about this loss of faith called Life Beyond Belief, A Preacher's Deconversion. It came out in October 2014. He told his readers that he began that journey of deconversion more than 7 years before. It led initially to taking early retirement from the ministry and then continued over the ensuing 5 years. In answering a question posed by a fictitious reader, he said this: "As I have gotten older, I realize I can no longer affirm any of the following. Any spirit being that one would call God or goddess, angels and demons, heaven and hell as literal places, miracles as recorded in the Bible, life after death." Then, in his September 26, 2014 column, he said, "My goal is not to disabuse you of your faith, but to share my personal testimony of deconversion, and with it a call for all of us to constantly test and examine our assumptions." He went on to say, in short, after pondering the age and span of the cosmos, the elegant simplicity of evolution by natural selection, the ruthlessness of the God of the Bible, blood sacrifice, the discrepancies in Scripture, the antagonisms and animosities derived from religious fervor, and the violence and corruption in church history, adherence to my former beliefs was no longer possible. Well, after reading that column and spending a fair bit of time thinking about its contents, I sent him an email. In it, I told him that I also constantly tested and examined my personal assumptions. I then noted that I did not necessarily disagree with him regarding his opinions about and arguments against organized religion. I did, however, suggest to him that he check out Unity of London as an alternative to his newfound atheism. I told him that unity was about spirituality and not dogma and religion. And as far as I could see, it was religion, and particularly the Old Testament, human creations, with which he had a major issue. He graciously thanked me for my email and politely and firmly declined my offer. Now, you may be wondering where the heck I'm going with this. Well, I had agreed to speak here at Unity again after my last presentation back in July. And one of the topics I was asked to cover today was faith. Upon learning that, I immediately thought of, oops, wrong faith, not faith. I thought of Bob Ripley, even though she's a lot cuter. I had never actually read his book, so I picked up a copy of what he called his Pilgrimage from Religion to Reason. In his foreword to the book, Reverend Dr. Daniel James Meter, a longtime friend of Bob's and a pastor of the Old First Reformed Church of Brooklyn, said, "It would be a great mistake for a Christian to take offense at anything in this book." Well, I don't consider myself a traditional Christian as such, and admittedly, I did not take offense at anything at all. In some ways, I felt rather sorry for Bob, his losing his faith, his questioning his long-held religious beliefs. You see, I knew what he'd been going through. But unlike him, I ended up with a stronger and renewed faith, new spiritual beliefs. How many of you have gone through your own dark night of the soul? Questioning your faith and beliefs, wondering if you had it all wrong, asking yourself if it was all just a bunch of bullcrap or horse crunch. Anyway, back to Bob. His comment about the Bible's wonderful teachings being no more worthy than the great lessons in The Wizard of Oz or The Little Engine That Could, I found rather humorous. But I found quite a few of his observations and examples somewhat juvenile. And I wondered, how closely had he paid attention in his classes at ministerial school? I would assume that a number of those questions would have been addressed by his teachers, or at least discussed in seminars. But oops, I'm judgmental again. Bad habit of mine, and maybe of yours. And then some of his final words. I believe what matters is not so much what you believe, but how we conduct ourselves for these few, short, fragile years of being alive. I believe in so many things that I know exist that make this life the best life I will ever have. Now, I found that to be a very touching ending. His talking about putting into action what we believe. Isn't that what you do here at Unity? Anyway, have you heard about blind faith? No, not the rock group from the 60s. It's total belief without any supporting evidence. Now, there's a story about a priest, a rabbi, and a Unity minister in a rowboat in the middle of a pond. They're fishing. None of them had caught anything all morning. Then the priest stands up, says he needs to go to the toilet. Since they're in view of some picnickers on the beach, he climbs out of the boat and walks on water to shore. He comes back 10 minutes later the same way. Then the rabbi decides he needs to use the lavatory as well. He climbs out of the boat, walks on water to shore. He too comes back the same way a few minutes later. Well, the Unity minister looks at both of them, decides that his faith is just as strong as that of his fishing buddies, and that he too can walk on water. Stands up, excuses himself, steps out of the boat. Immediately, huge splash, he goes down into the water. The rabbi looks at the priest and says, I suppose we should have told him where the rocks were. Now, was the Unity minister's faith blind or warranted? Wikipedia says that in the context of religion, faith may equate to a confidence based on some perceived degree of warrant. In contrast to a definition of faith as being belief without evidence. In other words, a religious faith that has some degree of authenticity, proof, or evidence. So, what sort of evidence do you have for your informed and warranted faith? Now, for me, that evidence comes from within. It comes as I develop a deeper spiritual knowledge and understanding. For some of us, it comes easily, while for others like me, it's been and continues to be quite a struggle. As Don Miguel Ruiz of the Four Agreements says, are you living in fear or are you living in faith? You can change your understanding of what's happening around you. The answers are inside of you. End of quote. Now, as I said before, I've had a crisis of faith myself, to be honest, not just once, a number of times. University, while raising a young family, after job losses especially. Usually started about 3 o'clock in the morning. Just couldn't sleep. Weird thoughts came into my head because things were falling apart in my life, or maybe not going the way I wanted them to go. I talked about this in my last message, Long and Winding Road. But I've come out of these crises with a stronger spiritual faith, unlike Bob, who gave up on spirituality, not just religion. Now here's where we switch gears a bit. For the last couple of months at Unity of London services, you've heard messages or lessons related to topics in Oprah Winfrey's book, Wisdom of Sundays. This month the subject is Broken Open. Oprah calls it turning wounds into wisdom. In Oprah's book, Father Richard Rohr says, everything I've learned has been from humiliation, sin, failure, rejection, betrayal. That's when my soul expands. In the surrendering, the accepting, the seeing, I realize I'm larger and larger. Oprah echoes this when she states, there is not one experience, no matter how devastating, no matter how torturous it may appear to have been, there is nothing that is ever wasted. You can find that quote actually in this month's bulletin here at Unity. Everything that is happening to you is being drawn into your life as a means to help you evolve into who you were really meant to be here on earth. It's not the thing that matters, it's what that thing opens within you. Is that concept hard to accept? For me, you betcha. How about you? Especially if you're in a time of deep turmoil or despair, during job loss, addiction, breakup, death of a loved one, or a major illness, when the proverbial shit hits the fan. So it's critical that we have faith in the fact that whatever we are dealing with, whatever challenge we may face, it's for our good. It makes us better, stronger, freer. It provides us with the opportunity to find our true selves. Now, Oprah goes on to say, you can't win if you're fighting truth. Instead, persist in finding it and letting it break you open. For her, it was her childhood history of physical and sexual abuse. It resulted in her being silent in overbearing and uncomfortable situations. She allowed abusers to cross her boundaries instead of confronting them. She pushed her negative feelings down with food. She finally realized that if she was ever going to establish a healthy relationship with her weight, she had to confront her feelings instead of suppressing them and drowning them with food. She not only broke open, but broke through. She discovered that she had to allow herself to tell the truth and live in truth at every level. She learned that nothing happens out of order and that no experience is ever wasted. She developed the faith that every challenge in her life provided opportunities for her growth and came to believe that what they did for her was open another door to her great journey on this earth. Reverend Temple Hayes tells us everything happens for good and everything is in divine order. So it is for Doubting Thomas. So it is for Oprah. So it is for Bob Ripley as he moves through his faith journey. So it is for you and for me as well. Divine order for us all as we face the challenges of faith. So in summary, let's do a quick review. Faith is a special power that all of us have. So use it. Doubt and fear are the opposite of faith and belief. So release your fear and your doubt. Turn your wounds into wisdom and have faith that nothing is happening out of order for you and that no experience is ever wasted. So know that all is good. As Reverend Galen McDowell says, if we want to master life, we must exercise our faith. We must say yes to our good by seeing it spiritually, holding it in mind, believing it, and bringing it into manifestation. And now, Let's go into meditation. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, relax. Take another deep breath and focus your attention on the crown of your head. It represents the Christ Center. And now listen to these affirmations and declarations from the Daily Word. I have deep inner faith that grows every day, and I believe beyond any doubt that Spirit within guides me to my highest and best. As I face challenges, I remain faith-filled that I have all I need to meet and exceed any difficulty. I have faith that through Spirit within, I can handle anything that comes my way with grace and love. There is nothing to fear when life throws me a curveball. I have faith that I possess everything I require within me. My faith has only grown with each new situation I have faced in my life, and it will never leave me or let me down. I only have to be aware of its presence inside me. I am reminded of my strong faith each time I pray or meditate. So let's spend a few moments in silence now as we contemplate overcoming our greatest life or faith challenge. And once again from the Daily Word and from a world of hope. There is nothing I cannot handle if I approach it with faith. My strong faith in God's Spirit within me is making my way clear. My faith is more than a passive state of being. It is the active energy that empowers my thoughts and brings them into manifestation in this human experience. If I find myself giving my faith to thoughts of lack or limitation, I shift my focus to the spiritual substance that can accomplish all things through me. It is by embracing this understanding of faith that I create a new consciousness, choice by choice. Through faith, I am centered and guided every step of every day. And so it is. Amen.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. up, but I couldn't find one that said what I wanted to say vis-a-vis what the original had said, because it's really about faith. That's what the original song is about, and we are reminded of the strength and the eternal power of faith by the greenness of the Christmas tree. So here are some lyrics that I've combined, some that I found, some that I thought would be more appropriate for Unity, and it goes like this.